Rain pounded the roof of the old mansion when Sasha discovered the door. He was 14 years old and considered himself too old for adventure, but the boredom that had weighed on him for the past 3 weeks was unbearable. His parents had sent him to live with his Aunt Margarita at her country house while they renovated their apartment, and Sasha was sure it would be the most boring summer of his life. Aunt Margarita was a strange woman. She barely spoke, spent most of her time in the library, and sometimes looked at Sasha as if she saw something in him that no one else saw. The house was enormous, 5 stories high, with numerous rooms, staircases, and corridors that seemed like a labyrinth. Sasha explored it, searching for some kind of entertainment. On the 4th floor, at the end of a long corridor, he found a room he hadn't noticed before. The door was narrow, almost invisible, hidden in a niche between 2 tapestries. Sasha pushed it open and entered. The room was small, dusty, filled with old chests and boxes. Several paintings, draped with fabric, hung on the wall. Sasha began to remove the fabric from one of them and froze. The painting depicted a huge stone arch, glowing with golden light, and behind it, the edge of an unknown world, snow-capped mountains, and a strange green sky. "Beautiful," Sasha muttered, though the painting looked strange and slightly frightening. He walked further and came across an old desk. A thick, leather-bound book lay on it. Sasha opened it and read the first page, written in beautiful handwriting. The Chronicles of the Gate, the Keeper's Notes, year 1952. His heart began to beat faster. Sasha began to read. The first entries were confusing, full of strange words and titles, but gradually the meaning began to become clear. It was a diary kept by someone who described the opening of a portal to another world, a world called Argavand. This can't be true, Sasha thought, but his hands trembled as he turned the pages. The last entry was dated August 15th, 1952. "I realize now I made a mistake. The gate should have remained closed. I opened it, and now something is seeping through here, from that world into ours. I should have listened to the warnings. If anyone finds this book, don't open the gate. Don't believe anything they tell you. Don't even believe yourselves. Argavand is hungry. Argavand is waiting. And if the gate opens completely, our world will be consumed." Sasha closed the book, his palms sweating. This was either a very good lie, or something else entirely. He heard Aunt Margarita's voice from downstairs, calling him to dinner. Sasha tucked the book under his shirt and left the room. As he closed the door, he thought he heard a soft sound, like something breathing behind the wall. During dinner, Sasha watched his aunt carefully. She was thin, with gray hair and sad eyes. When she caught his gaze, she smiled, but it was a sad smile. "You found a room," she said. It was a statement, not a question. Sasha froze, his fork frozen in his hand. Yes, by chance. There's a book in there," Aunt Margarita continued. "Have you read it?" "A little," Sasha admitted. Aunt Margarita put down her fork and folded her hands on the table. "I need to tell you a story, Sasha. A story about your family. A story I should have told long ago, but was afraid to. Your grandfather was a guardian, like his father before him. And now it must be your responsibility." Sasha felt a chill run down his spine. "Guardian of what?" "The gate," Aunt Margarita answered. "The gate to Argavand." Sasha didn't sleep that night. He lay in bed, listening to the rain continue to pound the roof, and thought about his aunt's words. She had told him everything, or at least what she knew. Argavand was a real world, parallel to ours, but existing in another dimension. The gates between worlds had been opened long ago, in the Middle Ages, when people believed in magic and miracles. Back then, the gates were controlled, guarded by a special order of guardians. But over time, people stopped believing in magic, and most of the gates closed. There were only a few left, and one of them was in this house. Her father, Sasha's grandfather, was the last guardian until something terrible happened. Something Aunt Margarita didn't want to talk about. She only said that the gate had been damaged, and now it was slowly opening on its own. "It will take time," she said. "Maybe years. But if it opens completely, if something from Argavand completely crosses the border, I don't know what will happen. No one knows." "Why don't you close it?" Sasha asked. "Because I don't know how," Aunt Margarita replied. "And because I'm afraid. Your grandfather tried it, and it broke him." Now, lying in bed, Sasha decided he needed to see the gate. If it was true, if this was really happening, then he needed to know what he was dealing with. He stood up, put on a warm sweater, and went out into the hallway. The house was quiet and dark. Only the moon was shining through the windows. Sasha climbed up to the 4th floor and walked toward the room. The door was open. Sasha entered and lit the flashlight. The room looked the same as before, but now he knew what to look for. On the wall, behind the old paintings, was exposed stonework. Sasha began pushing aside chests and boxes until he had completely cleared the wall. The stonework was ancient, covered in moss and dirt. But when Sasha rubbed it with his hand, he saw symbols, strange, intertwining lines that glowed with a faint blue light. His breathing quickened. The symbols glowed. It was impossible, but it was happening. Sasha walked along the wall, and suddenly his hand passed through the stone. He cried out and pulled his hand back. The stone was hard, but where his hand had passed, a trace of blue light remained, as if he had touched an invisible fire. This isn't stone, Sasha realized. This is something else. This is a boundary. He slowly extended his hand forward and walked through the wall. The world turned upside down. Sasha fell to his knees on the cold stone, his lungs filling with air that was colder and denser than the air he'd breathed before. He raised his head and froze. Before him stretched a huge stone arch, exactly like the one in the painting. It was as tall as a 5-story building, carved from black stone covered with the same glowing symbols. Behind the arch, the edge of another world was visible. Sasha rose to his feet, his legs trembling. He walked to the arch and peered through it. Behind the arch was a forest. Not an ordinary forest, but a forest of trees that glowed from within, like lanterns. Their trunks were silver, their leaves golden. The sky was truly green, but not bright green, soft as sea green. And everywhere, there was a sense of movement, life, as if the whole world were breathing and pulsating. "Argavand," Sasha whispered. "Yes," he heard a voice behind him. Sasha turned around. A girl stood behind him. She was about his age, maybe a little younger. She was dressed in strange clothes, a long dress of silvery fabric that glowed in the dark. Her hair was black as night, and her eyes were golden. "Who are you?" Sasha asked, stepping back. "I'm Lyria," the girl replied. "I've been waiting for you." "How can you wait for me? I just found out about this place." "Your grandfather promised me someone would come," Lyria said. "He said that when the gates began to open, his heir would come here. I waited for many years. So long, I thought you'd never come." Sasha felt his heart begin to beat faster. "My grandfather? Was he here? He's been here many times, Lyria answered. He was my friend. He helped us when the gates began to break. But then he stopped coming, and I didn't know why. He died, Sasha said, a long time ago, when I was little. Lyria lowered her head. I know. I felt it. When he died, I felt something tear apart, like part of my world disappeared. Sasha didn't know what to say. This girl seemed real, but everything around her seemed like a dream. Why are the gates breaking? He asked. What's happening? Lyria raised her head and looked at him seriously. Something is awakening, she said. Something ancient and hungry. Your grandfather called it the Shadow. It was sealed in the deepest reaches of Argavand, but the seal is weakening. The gates are breaking because the Shadow is pressing against them, trying to break through to your world. Why does it need this? Sasha asked. Because your world is young, Lyria answered. Because there is so much life in it, so much light. And the Shadow feeds on light. It wants to devour it. Sasha felt a chill that wasn't related to the air temperature. How can I stop it? The seal must be restored, Lyria said. But for that, a guardian is needed. A true guardian, with the blood of the ancient mages. Your grandfather tried, but the Shadow was too strong. It touched his mind, and he broke. What do you mean, broken? He forgot who he was, Lyria answered sadly. He forgot about me, about the gate, about everything. He just sat and stared at the wall until he died. Sasha felt his throat tighten. I can't do this, he said. I'm just an ordinary boy. I don't know anything about magic, about seals, about... You can, Lyria interrupted. Your grandfather was an ordinary boy when he started. He learned, and you can too. But if it broke him, because he was alone, Lyria said, I will help you. And there are others. People in Argavand who want to help. We don't want the Shadow to break through to your world. That would be the end of everything. Sasha walked to the edge of the stone platform they stood on and looked down. Below them was a chasm, disappearing into endless darkness. If I agree, he said slowly, what must I do? Lyria led Sasha through the gate into Argavand. As he crossed the border, his body felt a strange sensation, as if he'd been turned inside out and then put back together. His skin tingled, his bones hummed, and his mind was filled with images that weren't his own. He saw cities built of crystals that glowed from within. He saw seas swam with creatures like whales, but with wings. He saw mountains that touched the clouds, and clouds that were alive and breathing. And beneath it all, in the deepest places, he saw the Shadow, vast, formless, hungry. Then the visions faded, and Sasha fell to his knees on the soft moss. It's okay, Lyria said, helping him to his feet. The first time is always difficult. You've seen Argavand. Now Argavand sees you. Sasha raised his head and looked around. They stood in the forest he'd seen through the gate. Up close, it was even more beautiful. The trees were enormous, their branches intertwined high above, creating a canopy of golden leaves. A soft golden glow shone everywhere, as if the sun were shining through the water. How long can I stay here? Sasha asked. As long as it takes, Lyria replied. Time flows differently in Argavand. When you return, only a few hours will have passed in your world, no matter how long you've been here. They began walking through the forest. Lyria told Sasha about Argavand, its history, its people. Once upon a time, there was a great kingdom here, ruled by King Argavand, who was wise and just. But then the Shadow came. No one knew where it came from, but it was hungry and merciless. It began to consume life, turning living lands into dead deserts. King Argivan and his advisors created a seal that sealed the shadow in the deepest reaches of the kingdom. But the seal required constant maintenance. People were needed who could hold it, nourishing it with their life force. These were the Guardians. Your grandfather was one of the last, said Lyria. When he died, the seal weakened, and now the shadow is beginning to break through. They walked all day, or what felt like day in this strange world where it was always light. Finally, they emerged from the forest and found themselves on the shore of a huge lake. The water was clear and glowed from within, like liquid light. A village stood on the shore of the lake. The houses were built of wood and stone, but they looked as if they had grown out of the earth rather than been built. The people who lived in this village were human-like, but not quite. Their skin was paler, their eyes larger, their movements more fluid, as if they were moving through water. When Lyria and Sasha entered the village, people emerged from their houses and began to look at them. Sasha felt strange, as if he were being examined under a microscope. "This is the Guardian," Lyria announced. "He has come to help us." An old man with a long silver beard approached Sasha and looked him in the eyes. "You look like your grandfather," he said, "especially your eyes. Just as honest, just as frightened." "Who are you?" asked Sasha. "I'm Marin," the old man replied. "I was your grandfather's advisor. I helped him understand how the seal works, how to maintain it. I hoped that one day his heir would come here. I'm glad it happened before it was too late." "Lyria said that my grandfather tried to restore the seal, and it broke him," Sasha said. "Yes," Marin replied sadly. "He was very brave, but underprepared. The shadow is very powerful, and when he tried to touch the seal, the shadow touched his mind. It showed him things he shouldn't have seen, things that broke him." "What things?" asked Sasha. "The truth," Marin replied. "The truth that the seal cannot last forever, that the shadow will eventually break through, that everything eventually dies." Sasha felt his legs give way. Marin caught him and helped him sit up. "But there is hope," the old man continued. "If the Guardian is strong enough, if he can withstand the truth and not break under its weight, then he can not only restore the seal, but strengthen it. Perhaps even heal the shadow completely." "Heal?" Sasha asked. "You mean the shadow can be saved?" "The shadow was once a part of Argivan," Marin said. "Part of his life, his growth, his transformation. But something happened long ago, something terrible, and the shadow was separated, sealed. It is hungry and vicious because it is alone, because it is separated from the rest of the world. If it can be brought back, if it can be healed, then the seal will no longer be necessary." "How can this be done?" Sasha asked. "That's what you must learn," Marin replied. "That's what you must discover within yourself. Your grandfather was close to understanding, but he didn't quite reach it. Perhaps you will be stronger." Marin taught Sasha for many days. He showed him how to see magic, how to feel it, how to channel it. Magic in Argivan was everywhere, in the water of the lake, in the leaves of the trees, in the air they breathed. It was alive, conscious, and it responded to the Guardian's touch. Sasha learned to create small fires in his palms, to make the water dance, to make the trees sway. The shadow grew and bent to his will. It was intoxicating, powerful, and soon Sasha understood why his grandfather had been so fascinated by this place. But Marin constantly reminded him that this was only the beginning. "Magic is a tool," the old man said. "But the seal requires more than just power. It requires understanding, empathy, love. Your grandfather was strong, but he didn't understand the shadow. He saw it only as an enemy, as an evil that needed to be sealed. So when he touched the seal, the shadow showed him the truth about itself, and he couldn't bear it. What truth? Sasha asked. That the shadow isn't evil, Marin replied. That the shadow is simply pain. Pain that has been sealed away for so long that it has forgotten what anything else is. When Sasha felt ready, Marin told him it was time to descend into the depths where the shadow was sealed. It's dangerous, the old man warned. The shadow will try to touch your mind, just as it touched your grandfather's. It will show you terrible things, try to break you. You must be prepared. How can I be prepared? Sasha asked. Remember, you're not alone, Marin replied. Lyria will come with you. And remember, the shadow isn't an enemy. It's simply lonely. If you can give it what it needs, if you can show it there's another way, then maybe it will release the seal. Sasha and Lyria descended into the underground caves. The deeper they went, the darker it became. The magic that shone everywhere above was weak and frightened here. The cave walls were black as coal, and they seemed alive, as if they were breathing. Finally, they came to a huge chamber. In the center of the chamber was a seal, a huge circle inscribed on the floor, covered in symbols that glowed red. And behind the seal, in the shadows, was the shadow. It was enormous, larger than Sasha could have imagined. It was formless, like smoke, yet at the same time, it seemed as solid as stone. It was black, blacker than night, and wherever it touched the cave walls, the stone turned to ash. Sasha felt his mind begin to split at the shadow's presence. It was like standing next to a black hole that was sucking out all that was good and bright within him. Don't retreat, Lyria said, grabbing his hand. Remember that she is alone. Remember that she is afraid. Sasha took a step forward, then another. He walked to the edge of the seal. The shadow began to move. It began to expand, approaching him. Sasha closed his eyes and opened his mind. He saw everything. He saw how the shadow was created as a part of Argivan's life that was too dark, too sad to be part of the rest of the world. He saw how it was sealed away, how it was separated, how it was left alone in the darkness. He saw its pain, its loneliness, its hunger, and he understood. The shadow wasn't evil. It was simply a reflection of everything that had been rejected, everything that had been hidden, everything that had been forgotten. It was the shadow of Argivan himself. Sasha opened his eyes and looked at the shadow. I see you, he said. I see your pain, and I will not seal you away. I will heal you. The shadow paused. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the shadow began to move, not toward him, but away. It began to curl, shrink, become smaller. Sasha reached out and touched the seal. The pain was unbearable. It was as if his body was being torn apart, as if his bones were melting, as if his mind was being shattered into a million pieces. He saw the entire history of Argivan, all its pain, all its joy. He saw kings and kingdoms, wars and peace, birth and death. And at the center of it all was the shadow, and it was beautiful. Sasha understood that the shadow was necessary. It was part of the cycle of life, part of what made Argivan alive. Without it, the world would be incomplete, like day without night. He began to rebuild the seal, but instead of sealing the shadow, he created a new seal, a seal that didn't separate the shadow from the rest of the world, but connected it to it. A seal that allowed the shadow to be a part of Argivan, but controlled it, guided it, helped it find balance. When he finished, Sasha fell to his knees. His body was covered in sweat. His hands were shaking. His mind was blank. But the seal had been restored. And more than restored, it had been healed. Sasha woke up in his bed in Aunt Margarita's house. The sun shone through the window, and he heard birds singing. It was 7 in the morning. He had gone to the room with the gate at 9 the previous evening. 10 hours in his world. But he had spent weeks in Argavand. His body was exhausted. His muscles ached. His mind was foggy. But he felt something else. A sense of accomplishment. A feeling that he had done something important. Sasha stood up and went downstairs. Aunt Margarita was in the kitchen, preparing breakfast. When she saw him, she smiled. A real smile, not sad like before. "You were there," she said. It was a statement, not a question. "Yes," Sasha replied. "I met Lyria. I met Marin. I restored the seal." Aunt Margarita sat down on a chair, her eyes filling with tears. "Your grandfather would be proud," she said. "He tried to do it, but he was too young, too inexperienced. He didn't understand what needed to be understood. But you understood." "How do you know?" Sasha asked. "Because I feel it," Aunt Margarita replied. "I feel the seal change. It no longer weighs on my mind like it used to. It no longer makes me afraid." Over the next few days, Sasha began to understand what had happened. Restoring the seal wasn't just an act of magic. It was an act of transformation. The shadow that had been sealed away was now integrated into Argavand. It was still there, but it was part of the whole, not a separate part. And that changed the gate. Sasha returned to the room on the 4th floor and discovered that the symbols on the wall no longer glowed red. They glowed gold and blue, like a harmonious blend of light and shadow. He passed through the gate again and found himself in Argavand. But the world was different. It was more alive, more complete. Where once there had been only golden magic, now there was a mixture of light and shadow, creating more complex and beautiful patterns. Lyria met him on the shore of the lake. She was smiling. "You did it," she said. "You really did it." "What happens now?" Sasha asked. "We live now," Lyria replied. "We live without fear of the shadow. We live knowing that the shadow is a part of us, and that is good." Marin approached them and placed his hand on Sasha's shoulder. "You are no longer just a guardian," the old man said. "You are a healer. You have healed not only the seal, but the land itself. It is a rare gift." Sasha spent a few more days in Argavand, learning from Marin, playing with Lyria, exploring this beautiful world. He realized his life had changed forever. He was no longer just an ordinary boy, bored in his aunt's house. He was a guardian, a healer, a bridge between two worlds. When he returned to his world for the last time, he knew it wasn't the end. It was only the beginning. A year passed. Sasha returned to school, but he was different. His classmates noticed it, but couldn't understand what had changed. He was calmer, more confident, as if he knew something they didn't. Aunt Margarita invited him to stay with her. His parents agreed, and now Sasha lived in the old house where the gate was located. At night, he often went to his room on the 4th floor and gazed at the symbols glowing gold and blue. Sometimes he saw Lyria looking at him from the other side of the gate. They communicated across the border, telling each other about their days, their dreams. Sasha began keeping a diary, like his grandfather. He wrote down everything he learned about the gate, about magic, about Argavand. He knew that someday, perhaps, his own grandson or granddaughter would find this diary and need this knowledge. But the main thing Sasha realized was that true magic wasn't about strength. True magic was about understanding, about compassion, about the ability to see beauty even in the darkest places. And this magic was everywhere, if you knew how to look for it. One day, while Sasha was sitting in Aunt Margarita's library, he found an old photograph. It showed his grandfather, young and smiling, and next to him was a girl with black hair and golden eyes, Lyria. On the back of the photograph was written, "Two worlds, one soul. Remember, the line between them is thinner than you think." Sasha smiled and put the photograph back in the book. He knew it was true, and he knew his adventure was only just beginning.